you guys are doing something from a gaming angle, which we just looked at a chart and it was showing how the amount of money that's getting put into gaming in general is insane. But you're creating NFArcade. Give me the rundown about what that is and why you decided to make it.
Yeah, man. So, non-fungible arcade, it's really interesting with what we're looking to do here, because you see everyone coming to the gaming industry. You see the gaming industry in general. It's a $200 billion+ industry. It's bigger than movies and music combined in terms of entertainment as a medium and as a platform. It's been utilized for the longest, man. I mean, if you go back to the olden days, I don't know if you remember, but there was you get cereal boxes with CDs in them, and now you're playing as like a Tricks character. So it's super cool, to really see this industry popping off. And of course, what better way than to take the newest tech that allows for decentralized ownership and see gaming fuse with it, kind of like, Q, Goku, and Vegeta fusing to, become Vegito or Gogeta. But really what we do at NFArcade is we're a gaming platform. We pay gamers and developers based on performance, right? So when you come into our ecosystem, you're playing games on a browser-based platform. So you just pop on your browser and there you are, running straight away, playing our games. And then what we really like to do is support indie developers, man. So you see, as this industry has grown in Web3, everything is trying to put a token into it and trying to kind of farm that token, which, DeFi kind of sprung this up and actually really paved the way for us. But I don't think that that's really what gamers are looking for, a decentralized finance platform that is gamified with clicking and staking. So, it really was inspired by old school retro arcade games that are simple, that are fun, that are casual, and really just captivate you. And anybody can jump in. There's a very low, learning curve. So we take retro games, we put Web3 IP in them, something that you might be familiar with, like a Bored Ape or a Mutant Ape.
Hell yeah.
My Pet Hooligan, not Neo-Tokyo Citizen. We have 17 IP partners, CyberKongz. And you can take that character and you can play in these old school games with it and just have a ton of fun, man. That's our main focus.
That is holy shit. Okay, cool. I'm on the partners thing. So Kaiju Kings, Impostors, Neo Tokyo, My Pet Hooligan, BAYC, MAYC, Undead Blocks, Just Cubes, Averick Saga, Scrapyard, This Thing of Ours, Opus, Lab, Exborg, Collider, Craftwork, CyberKongz, Verani, Shrapnel, Fractal, and Degenheim, I believe.
Yep.
How do these conversations go about? Do you just be like, yo, CyberKongz, what's good, fam? Do you want to be in our game, or what does that look like?
More or less, man. I think how we've been able to grow really is, again, to go back to the start, when I had this idea, was in Neo Tokyo, and we're the Web3 gaming Illuminati, and I was like, well, this Web3 gaming industry is not, it's not something that gamers would get excited about. So what can we do? Went to a local barcade here where I'm at in Arizona with my girlfriend. We were playing some arcade games. First time playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. So it was her first time. And we're playing through and we're just having fun, laughing. And she was really picking it up fast. And we had a really good time. And I'm like, I need to do something like this. I'm just going to make an arcade game and see where it goes. So we kind of started with that as an inspiration. And then as we went along, we were like, right, how can we make this something that people in Web3 will get excited about, that doesn't include selling a token that is magic internet money backed by nothing, it could go to zero. And I think that we were kind of had an aha moment. I've had a lot of friendships in different communities of builders that I've known, and from there we just kind of started saying, hey, is this something you'd be interested in? And really going to projects and saying, this is utility that your community has. So you have a profile picture project, but wouldn't it be cool to put their character in the game and they could play inside of our ecosystem? And that was really what started the conversation. And it's been phenomenal, man. People are super excited about what we're doing and to be a part of it. So very grateful for the journey from where we started to where we are now as a browser-based gaming platform that has all this wonderful IP and is allowing people to play and compete for USDC prizes.
That is awesome. And I just kind of curious, is the game something that anybody can play? Do you need to have the tokens? What are the benefits of owning the tokens for your ecosystem?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So again, we wanted to do away with the magic internet money. So what we have is called an NFArcade Pass. And we're really in preseason right now. Everything that we've done has been completely organic with the community that I have kind of organically established and stacked on top. And we've almost like an anime, right? We have these cool people join me on this journey, and they have amazing relationships in a really beautiful circle of talented people. So we've kind of grown that way really organically, and have been building. I guess you could say in stealth. I don't know. That's kind of a that's a cringe term. Maybe people overuse it, but we've been building under the radar. You're not really paying people to shill it at all, and just moving forwards and getting feedback from our community. And we've grown from like 50 people to a very large user base now. But preseason, you would get an NFArcade pass. You come in, and then you can play our current games that we have live on NFA.GG.
That is cool. We were scrolling through the site just a second ago. So the art was another thing, and I thought that it was really neat. But how did you guys design what these all look like? Were you using anything as kind of reference, or?
Yeah. So at the time, I was looking for an artist that would just really make something that was cyberpunk, like retro, really cool, just on that like that perfect cusp of that, man. And I went down rabbit holes looking for artists that we could essentially contact for freelance, because I didn't know what this was going to become. I was just like, whatever I'm doing right now, I want to like do it the best to our ability, and really make it great. So we're just scrolling looking for artists, and yeah, I came upon someone, and I was like, holy shit, like this is it. And what I was really looking for is our art for our game Citadel Slayer. So I saw these like retro cyberpunk like fighter dudes that reminded me of our enemies in our beta of that game Citadel Slayer that we had initially shown off and beta tested and launched. And I was like, yo, I need to talk to this guy. Like there's no one else. I just stopped right there and I reached out to him without even knowing that he was going to be on board. But I just felt it, man. And he's the coolest, kindest, most talented guy ever. He's a really hard worker, but he just has a very creative mind, as you see. And it's been a ton of fun to work with him. And then our everyone putting our story together, like our lore and everything behind the factions, and really the story of Non-Fungible Arcade and the Resistance. His name is C's, and he's wrote scripts for movies like Blade Runner, Minority Report, Total Recall. So dude, it's just been an honor to work with these guys.
I love it. So the factions, that's kind of a little bit of a breakdown, where I was just scrolling through and seeing what it is, but it looks like some of them are more rare. Is that kind of extra perks within the game, or is that just kind of like art and the supply scarcity?
Yeah, so that's a great question, man. So leaking some alpha here. Guys, if you're watching, you're really interested in what we're talking about. A little bit of a shill here, but go check out our Twitter. It's at NFArcade. And we have a fireside chat that's coming up on Friday, where we're really going to pull back the curtain for everyone to start understanding our ecosystem. Because again, we are in preseason, just focused on giving away money for people playing games, but to kind of break down the ecosystem a little bit more. And like I said, drop some alpha here. We have two sides of the coin. So, the art grabbed your attention initially, and that's something that was brought to my attention over and over again, where we kind of had it to tell the story of the company, but people kept saying, man, this art is so great. Like, it would be a tragedy if we didn't do a PFP. And I'm like, listen, I get what you're saying, but we're a browser-based gaming platform, not a PFP project. But, the conversation kept coming up, and we have some amazing people on staff at NFArcade that I'm very grateful to work with that have been building out our ecosystem and really the meta layer behind how this stuff works. So there's two sides of the token. One is gaming, right? So you can come in, you can play games, you can win USDC. And the other one is what you're talking about, and that's the PFP. So you're gonna have the rarity and things like that, and the factions, and really get involved in that story, where these are actually upgradable PFPs. So your Bored Ape is amazing, man. Like it's super cool. I love the color of the teeth. It's very unique. But imagine if you could change out the bandage for like some Ray-Bans or something, and do different things to upgrade it. So we kind of took that in mind, inspired by the company or the project, I should say, that really inspired all this for me, Neo Tokyo. You could take these, I don't know if you're not familiar with it, but you could take these 4 different pieces and then put them together and then make a PFP. So we're kind of doing something similar in the sense that you can customize a profile picture character that is uniquely yours. It's Schiller's Rebel, as part of the Resistance at Non-Fungible Arcade, not just, number 69 or number 420. So
right, I love it.
Excited about that, man.
Okay, cool. So still scrolling on your site here. We talked about this yesterday, so I'm very excited to ask this. Within our experience thing, you've got listed that your teams or brands you've worked with: Disney, Warner Bros., Marvel, EA, Netflix, Epic Games, Sony, NASA, The Verge, Riot Games, with Love League of Legends, Lionsgate, and IGN. And I think that, I want to know a little bit about that, but I also want to kind of just get your perspective. There is a lot of collections out there that say, hey, we have team members that are from, Netflix, Marvel, or whatever, and it's a way for them
Yeah.
to kind of validate that they're a legitimate company that is going to go through stuff. So how do you kind of filter to make sure that that's actually legit? And then I'm also curious just kind of like where that experience for your team and what that's been like for working with those big brands.
Yeah. So again, I wish that I could kind of explain this in a different way that would maybe help people understand it. But to kick it off, man, it really was a journey that people just kind of started coming to us in offering to come along on this journey that have an amazing skill set. Again, big ups to Neo Tokyo. It is just it's like a hub. It's just like an epicenter of builders and super talented people in Web 2 and people that are aspiring to do amazing things in Web 3. So a lot of our talent came from Neo Tokyo, specifically me just posting in there, sharing like early renditions of what we're doing, say, hey, what do you think about this? And then it kind of went out from there. Bowtie Pickle is our smart contract dev, and he came from a referral from a friend that was a citizen. Music Mainnet, they do our music, all of our music. They're citizens. So a lot of these relationships spawn from that community that I'm super grateful for. If you guys don't own a Neo Tokyo citizen, you're looking to build something, I highly recommend you checking it out. This isn't like a paid shill or anything. I have no stake in the company outside of my citizen, but it really has been game changing for us. So when we talk about the experience that we have, like I talked about C's specifically in his experience with screenwriting for those movies, and I talk about Music Mainnet and their experience working with very large companies. It's kind of this pot, right, of all these brands that as a company combined that we've had past experience working with. And I think you're absolutely right when you said, the idea there is to build validation and to show like, hey, we're not some fly by night company that's here to do like a rug pull or pixelated feet pics, which apparently does great. I mean, if you compare that and Porsche, I don't know. I mean, if you had to, if you're a betting man, which horse are you going to bet on? Well, if you bet it on Porsche, you bet on the wrong horse. But getting back to the grounds that we're legitimizing Web3 as an industry because hey, we have people that actually have real talent, real business experience with real legacy businesses that are here to build with us. So come check us out. I really think that that's kind of the idea. Or it's like, when you see a verified profile on Twitter or social media, you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like they're like legit, they're about it. So I think that's the idea behind it. When people talk about that, and with us anyways, it was showing that, hey, we know what we're doing. We have a ton of industry experience between our team combined.
So I love the fact that you are very passionate about Neo Tokyo, and I think that every person that we've had on here has, mentioned a collection that they're involved with that they're super passionate about, which leads me to kind of a question about community. And I think that, we are all like, hey, yeah, guys that are, when we're talking to somebody not in the space, come join for the community. And they're like, you are an absolute fish. Why would I join something for a community? But like every collection does have kind of a unique set of thinkers. Some of them do have the builders that are amongst it, like yourself, within Neo Tokyo. But for the NFArcade, how would you describe your community?
Yeah, I really say that we, again, are inspired by them in the sense that it is a hub where, it's by gamers, for gamers. Since day one in our first beta of Citadel Slayer, we've taken feedback from our community and we built alongside them. So, when I put out the first beta of the game, we had several hundred people test it, and, I'd say 69% or greater of them gave us feedback. And the team and I sat down and we had a meeting. We looked through all of the feedback. We said, hey, that's not a bad idea. And we implemented on a lot of these ideas where people came back for beta 2 and said, holy shit, like these guys listened to me and they implemented this. And it's really been an experience that's been cool to cultivate with our community. So, it's a unique kind of intersection, again, of the meta layer where you have these upgradable PFPs and the rarity and everything you do there. And then you have the gaming and then our IP partners. And then, really it's a place for gamers to come in and say, hey, I see what you guys are doing. It's this symbiotic relationship between gamers and indie developers where it's an ecosystem where they support each other. I want to be a part of that. So we have builders inside of our community that have actually ended up as community members that are passionate about what we're doing. are now working with us to developing games and doing game design and animation and art and things like that. But it's really this just this breeding ground, right, for moving this industry forwards with Web3 gaming. We have builders, they're building games. We have SaaS, we have hardcore gamers, we have people that of all demographics are giving us feedback and what they think is important. And we're just cultivating that experience and pushing forwards into the future of this industry.
The future of gaming and blockchain is this awkward kind of technological shift because
It
I
is.
uploaded some videos of Dookie Dash and I like wildly successful video for whatever reason, but I've just been getting hate upon hate upon hate. And for you're working on building games for an industry that everybody's bullish on games, but for anyone on the outside, like, when we look for this adoption, it's kind of happening, but like at an extremely slow pace. So how do you kind of handle trying to target an audience that hates what you're doing?
Yeah, so I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. We'll talk about the industry in the growth over time here in a second with gaming, and just how the internet can be in general. But I really think that it's interesting because if you look at the billions of dollars that have gone into Web3 gaming, everyone is so focused on looking at onboarding Web2 gamers. And I really find that fascinating because you think about in Web3 itself, how many gamers there are and how many people there are that would interact with your ecosystem, that actually care, that are actually set up for success because they understand how this blockchain thing works. So I really think it's kind of like that meme where you have the guy like with his girlfriend looking over the shoulder at the other girl. It doesn't make sense, man. You gotta water the grass underneath your feet instead of worrying about the patch show over there or somewhere in the future, right? I think everyone's trying to jump ahead, and maybe it's because they're trying to raise money and they're trying to convince VCs of this, or maybe it's just they want to be the first one to push. I can't speak for the industry at large, but I think as an industry as a whole, we should pump our brakes. Or anyways, what we're doing with NFArcade is we're curating our community of people that are set up to come in, that understand that, hey, this IP is here, I can play with it, this is super cool, I understand how blockchain works. And the cool thing about what we're doing is blockchain is still under the hood in the sense that it doesn't control the experience more or less, but it complements it. So you have to grow in phases, right? I think Web 2 is down the line, it's in the future, it's something to be excited about. But technology as an industry, everyone gives pushback and there's resistance. I said I wanted to kind of talk about that, and I really think it's true because one of our advisors, he's been in the video game industry for 30 years, shipped over 600 successful games, and he helped bring free to play to the United States in 2014. And I remember him telling me this story specifically because there's so much pushback. People are like, that'll never work. We have to sell copies. We got to get the money up front. There was like this whole model. If you remember, you would like pay for a game. You go to GameStop, wait in line overnight, camp out, whatever. And that was really what you had to do back in the day. But they flipped the model on its head. They said, no, listen, free to play is going to work. Let's let people try out the game, and then if they're captivated, they like the game, we can have them paying for different things and features inside of the game. There's so much pushback, and now you see the way the industry is now. If you fast forward some odd years later, 8 years later, 9 years later, it's the premier model. It's the way that everyone runs with, right? You look at Fortnite, you look at all of the larger games. That is the model. So when we first met at GDC last year, he was like, holy shit, you guys get it. I've seen tides of industries. Everything that you're doing is exactly what you should be doing. I want to get involved. And I was like, but it was cool, man. It was a really cool moment. It was aha moment. And that story will always resonate with me when I think about the trials and tribulations that we're up against as an industry.
That's amazing. I'm also definitely going to clip that for YouTube, by the way. But the
Yeah.
aspect of multi-chain future, a lot of people are talking about that. Obviously, we had DGods being the whole thing of, hey, we're moving to Polygon. We got Doodles announcing earlier today that they're going over to Flow. How do you see NFA going? Are you guys just sticking with this ETH model, or do you think you're going to look elsewhere? How's that looking for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think that you should be open to those things because you're going to have consumers, you're going to have an audience that lives in places. You look at the console wars, right? If you go back to the golden era for me, anyways, the time that I specifically remember is when the GameCube came out and Xbox came out. You had Super Smash Brothers Melee and you had Halo, the original Halo that was by Bungie Studios. and it's like, holy shit, like you have to make a decision, and, you know, which console you're gonna get so you can play which game, and then you got to call your friends, start strategically trying to organize your Christmas list with your friends, I suppose. You know, I think it's something that people shouldn't be forced to make a decision. And obviously, there's politics involved with chains and projects and things like that. And then people get in this like weird ETH maxi, you know, type of mindset. But really, it's about what's the project looking to do, what's the movement that they're trying to, you know, push forwards and really help people become a part of. I think, you know, youth, I'm not super familiar with everything they're doing. I've spoken with the team. You know, from what I know, it's really interesting, and I think it's really cool. And I love the fact that, you know, with where they're at and their community being unsold, that they're like, hey, you know, we're going to go over to Polygon. Because I don't think it's like I don't think it's something that you can't do, right? Like it's good for everyone. They're expanding the ecosystem so more people can come in. So I mean, that's the way that I look at it, because I think it's going to get to the point where it's like Spotify. You don't have to, you know, have a tape, a CD or anything. I think it's just there's going to be an experience, and then whatever way you come on and decide to do it, kind of like if you decide to pay for something, maybe you do credit card, debit card, Google Pay, Apple Pay, you know, PayPal. You have different options. I think it should be the same way in the future.
Interesting. And do you have any kind of hot takes of what do you think is going to be some of the biggest changes coming to the blockchain space this next year?
In regards to gaming or just in general?
Just in general.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, we're starting to see companies like legacy companies try things out. You see Starbucks, you see Disney, uh, you see Porsche. You know, so I think people are starting to dip their toes in the water. You've got, I think who was it? It was Unix. I think Unix Gaming just announced, you know, really that they're going to be shifting their focus towards blockchain gaming, which will be interesting because they've had, you know, you talk about CD games and SaaS games where, you know, you're selling, it's free to play and you're selling upgrades and things like that. They weren't able to nail that model. They did really well with, you know, these franchises that sold discs, and that was kind of their main niche they were able to carve out. And then they had a really hard time, man, like a really hard time. If you look at it, yeah, like I think they were like $10 billion in debt over their spending in like 2000 early 2000s. But you know, they've kind of struggled. So it's interesting to see companies like that in this space. But I really think this is the time that people should try to come over here and start trailblazing. So that's really what I think will happen. I'm excited, but at the same time, because I think it gets us recognition, more validation. But at the same time, you know, we always look at it like stick to the communities that you know, and really the builders that are here as these things grow, and just watch how it goes.
What do you think of some of these traditional Web 2 brands that are coming into the space, like the Starbucks and Porsche that you said? Because we have this kind of like awkward thing where I think that for celebrities, if we're talking individuals, people push back on that and say, oh, this is a cash grab, don't touch it. I mean, the Hasbulla thing would be the most recent celebrity NFT that I can think of. And apparently people have said that like their first AMA was just an absolute wash. So I need to go find the audio for that and go check in. But for Starbucks, people were excited about. For, you know, Porsche, they were critical of the way they were doing it, but I don't know, like I felt people were kind of excited about it in the talk of the town. And obviously there's significantly more than just the ones we've talked about, but what's your thoughts with these different big brands coming into the space, and maybe as an additional point, them specifically picking Polygon? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a business decision. I think Polygon, you know, shout out to them. They have a great BD department, but really it's trying new things, right? My advice to, you know, people that are listening to this in Web 2 legacy business side of things and Web 3 business side of things is like you need to leverage your strengths as someone that's an early adopter to Web 3, and you need to reach out to these projects. Like I was speaking to someone earlier this morning, my buddy Brian. He's a founder of Opus Labs, and actually their business model at Opus Labs is to take legacy Web 2 businesses and onboard them to Web 3. So he has like Scott Page from Pink Floyd. They're doing a music project, and he's got like a ton of other ones I can't think of off the top, but you know, very impressive network where Opus Labs' goal is to hold the hand of these legacy Web 2 businesses and onboard them to Web 3. And I really think that Porsche missed out on an opportunity. I'm not too sure if it was hindsight, if they were seeing pixelated feet pixel and said, oh, people buy anything, or well, I don't know what happened there, but I think that if either someone kind of cold called per se and said, hey, you know, I'm a Web3, you know, if you actually have the, I guess the experience, right? But you could say, hey, I'm like a Web3, you know, meme person or like whatever, right? But you reach out to them and say, hey, like I'd like to help you out. I think that there's a huge opportunity there for people that are in Web3 that can they can kind of call on those skills. And then for Web2 businesses, I really think you need to understand that this isn't just something that is like, hey, yeah, let's add Apple Pay, right? Like now people can use Apple Pay in our store, right? On Shopify. It's not that simple. It's something that culturally is appropriated that you need to understand, you need to grasp, and you need to go about these things because you can't just spend a fucking $1 million on Facebook and ads or something or Twitter ads. You need to get in with the community. You need to establish community and really talk about what you're doing with them. So Web3 has its own way of doing things. And I think it's cool. It's on this fine line of maybe cults, but I really think that it's intimate, right? So it gives us an opportunity to connect one to one with founders of companies where you can't just DM the founder of I don't know, Epic Games on Discord and say, hey man, I got an idea for you, open a ticket in Epic Games Discord, right? So that's I think we have a lot of opportunities that are available to the early adopters. I would just watch these companies that come in, and if you have ambitions of working with them, I'd say now's your time.
It's interesting that you said that it's a business decision. And I mean, I guess that's obvious when we kind of like think about why are they getting into the space. But I think that there's a more deeper layer of recognizing, oh shit, like these guys are thinking this is a business decision. And so when we're kind of like the early adopters, obviously there was people well before us, but hey, this blockchain technology and whatnot is really the future. I mean, how much do you think of that that's really true? Like, is it something that within the next 5 years everything is going to be on the blockchain? Do you think that it's going to be a subset? Like, how big do you think this really can become?
Yeah, man, it's a great question, and it's really hard. If anyone tells you that they have the answer, I would just say, in response, no one has a crystal ball. You have, you have the government. They're trying to tax people in New Jersey now. I think they just passed a bill, or they're about to pass a bill where you have to get like a license to sell digital art, and you're taxed on anything that you sell with NFTs, and whether I guess it's if you make a project or if you're on Rarible or if you purchase an NFT and then sell it on secondary. So I think that the government I think we're in this like weird space where everyone's trying to figure it out. They're trying to make the most of it for decentralization and empowering people. I really think that that's what the technology originally was for, right? But now you've got the government, of course, trying to get their hands on it and understand it and you do what the government does. So it's really going to be interesting how this moves more into mainstream. Again, you look at Starbucks; they're using it more for like a rewards point than anything else. Giving you NFTs of your Frappa latte or whatever. That's not happening where you can flip it for 90 Frappa lattes. But I don't know, man. It's really tough to say. I do think blockchain, with gaming really is a big thing that will help us with what we're doing at NFA. It's to empower gamers to share in this pie of a $200 billion industry, in proceeds go to them from a portion of like what they're putting in, right? Because I think like when you think about it, companies like Epic Games, they're great, man, they're awesome, but you have Fortnite's game. If you're spending $5,000 on V-Bucks, do you get $100 V-Bucks gift card on Christmas from them? No, it's this one-way street that goes from gamers that ironically make the game, the project, the company successful. They just keep giving money, and it's like your reward is like another DLC drop, that you can spend more money on. So I think that should be a two-way street. If you're adding value to the company and it's growing, like you should get that back. And then indie developers, I think that there's a lot of competition that they're up against. When you look at these large companies, they're spending millions of dollars on advertising. There's great games out there that just have no eyeballs on them because they have issues that they're running into with publishing, with advertising or getting an audience, with data, with finances, and that's something that we're really excited to help with. So kind of cut out the big publishers. That's something we're super passionate about, and of course, the centralized ownership of in-game assets. If you were there for season 1 of Fortnite, something they do really well is they FOMO. Their skins there and then they're gone. But if you buy those skins and you're a Twitch partner, you're here on Twitch, maybe you have a bunch of like a Spider-Man skin or something, and you give them away on your stream or maybe you put it up for sale, and then you're able to reinvest that in. Like when you think about the average family that has kids playing Fortnite, they just had a lawsuit that they incurred because of these tactics where kids just kept spending spending mommy and daddy's money, and with these different tactics. And I think that if they had it where it was something that the parents can kind of do this thing with the kids, where it's like they get the skins, and it's like, oh, all right, Johnny, like you have all these skins. Which ones are we putting up for sale to pay for your V-Bucks and your next skins and things like that? And that's something that should be here. I feel like it's mandatory. Like that needs to be available for people to participate in those earnings and things like that. So that's something that we're really excited about utilizing blockchain technology for.
I think blockchain is kind of making tech or finance fun again, if you will. Like I remember back playing RuneScape or whatever with the Grand Exchange, learning about flipping and all that kind of stuff, and it's really cool to see. Kind of a bit broader of a question here regarding CBDCs with the whole digital dollar and the world seeming to go to that. Do you think that's going to end up being bullish for the space or more bearish?
Yeah, again, I think it's to put a very what's the word I'm trying to use? I guess ignorant light on it, because I'm not super in with everything that's going on there. But if I had to take a stab at it, I would say that it's most likely the government trying to take this technology and utilize it in their own way that will be beneficial for them, and make sure that everything goes through their hands first, as opposed to me paying you in USDC or ETH or ETH for your ape or one of your other NFTs, and that's that. It's done, right? Again, it goes back to the whole middleman conversation with the big publishers and everything like that. So it's tough to say, man. I think it's a really cool tale of kind of like, to bring it back to NFArcade. We have the resistance and the rebels that are fighting against the NWO, the New World Order. That is just this massive corporation that is just greedy and trying to control everything, and yeah, man, I think it's one of those tales where it could speed up adoption for digital currencies, but we really need to lean on the decentralization. We really need to stand our ground and do what's right for the people, instead of just kind of getting in line. And yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people that are gamers, but the interesting thing with you guys for NFArcade is you're also seeming to highlight things for developers. So tell me a little bit more about that angle, because I think that's very unique.
Yeah, so you have a lot of great companies that are in Web3 right now. You've got Gala Games. We're friends with them. You've got Elixir. They're a launcher. You got Xborg. They're a launchpad platform, and these are all Web3 based and focused companies that are building, supporting, and launching Web3 based focused games. What we do is we basically set up infrastructure for anybody, and again, our goal is to find indie developers, because indie developers are building out of passion. They're building because they want to ship something because it's fun and it's an experience that they want to curate for an audience, and they understand the culture. So we look at developers, like indie developers, and our goal is to really connect with them. And let's say there's like John, and he's got a family and he's working at Home Depot full time or something, but he builds games. He's been building games for the last decade, trying to get something to work on Steam, but Steam is like a red ocean. It's really hard to get attention there. So in the not so distant future, we can like reach out to John. We have a team dedicated to that, and we say, hey John, listen, we're NFArcade, and the way things work with our platforms, you come onto our platform, and based on the plays that you get, you're really going to be compensated for this. And this is a game that's kind of like yours, and this is the number, the data, and everything. We host your game for free. We provide you with an instant audience, provide you with data analytics on your users, and payment. Is this something you'd be interested in? If so, we'd love to have a chat with you. And then you go through a series of processes. But really, the idea is to get indie developers building games out of passion to come on our platform, because that does two things. One, it highlights good games that really should be in the spotlight because they're great games. And the second thing is it allows us to take John, for example. It's a direct impact on him. Maybe he's able to quit working at Home Depot, or maybe he's there part-time now because he likes working there, right? But now he's able to have a better Christmas with the kids, take their wife on the vacation. And it's this ecosystem that has impactful, meaningful impacts on families and humans and people that you really want to root for.
I love that. I love that. And before we wrap things up, I do want to try one of these games. So I brought up Rebel Run and I clicked it a second ago. So anyone watching in the stream, you heard that. But I've figured that hitting the space bar is shooting things. And give me the lowdown. I don't know if you got the stream up, but what am I needing to do here? Am I just shooting these things?
Yeah, let me pull it up. So you're gonna have Rebel Run is simple controls. So if you have the arrows, left will tilt your gun up, right will tilt your gun down, and then up and down will change you between the top lane and the bottom lane. Space bar is a shoot. And really your goal is to get as far as you can. We recently came out with Invasion. If you'd like, I can share my screen and show you what that looks like.
Yeah. Feel free. You probably make it look a lot better than I do.
No, I mean, no, man, it's cool.
No, you're good.
I mean, the idea with these games is to make it, make it something where anyone can kind of come in and say, okay, after a couple of plays, I get the hang of it. So, again, paying homage to that old school arcade vibe. So while I load this game up, just to tell you, man, it's something we're really proud of is our music, our art, everything is custom. It's done by us. So it's something we're really proud of. We're not using pre-made assets for anything when it comes to these games. So they're made with love. Again, kind of the way that we see indie developers doing this. Let me share this tab here. All right. You see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you want, I can put the volume on here. Let me turn the music a little bit. So this is Invasion, and this was inspired by Space Invaders. Right? It's one of the most popular games. I don't think everyone knows, or I don't think they generated $3.82 billion. And really, this game has a very funky story. You should go check out some history on it. But it's just super popular. There was tournaments back in the day, man. People had to get in person, to travel by plane or drive somewhere to an actual physical location to compete. It wasn't as easy as it is now, where you can log on, and play games with your friends and your PJs. But yeah, it's super interesting. Can you hear the music?
Yes, we can.
It's like a modern retro take on Space Invaders. So this kind of walks you through some of the lore. So we were attacked, and then basically defended ourselves, but there's some technology left behind that we were able to advance, and then we get a ping. So it's time to go investigate what's going on.
Now it shows your profile picture that you use on Twitter. So is that an integration?
Yep. So that's the whole part of the IP. So for this game specifically, you see your captain in the ship. So you would have if you logged in with your wallet and you wanted to use your Bored Ape, you'd be able to see an ape there. So
cool.
Let's go, baby. So you go through a process of, fighting against waves of these aliens, and there's different upgrades that we can use and things like that. So again, this is something that we're launching 3 more games for our season 1 launch, which again, you catch our fireside chat this Friday at 4 p.m. EST. We'll be covering all of that and when to expect that. But really excited, man. Again, all the games that we're building inspired by just the classics, right? So yeah, man.
That's awesome. Mobile or not yet?
Yeah, so mobile isn't really our main focus right now. I think that when you look at Web3 gamers, me personally, anyways, I spend a lot of time on my computer. I spend a lot of time in Discord and a lot of time with communities. So it's easy access there. So I'll say that there's discussions of what we're going to be doing. But for season 1 anyways, which is our main focus right now, we're going to be strictly a browser-based gaming platform. So a lot of these games, you hear about, they have downloads, which I understand, totally get it. But unfortunately, you have issues in Web3 where people are getting links to download a game or whatever's happening, and suddenly their wallet's drained, and there's things like that. So we're really proud of our tech stack, our security, and everything that goes into this, and then just kind of the ease of use, right? So again, we look at like Amazon, right? in just how easy it is, and the experience is focused on the consumer. We really pride ourselves on the same approach where we put ourselves in the shoes of the gamers that are going to come on our platform, and how can we just make it so easy, so seamless, just so entertaining, where the main focus is fun and games. That's what they're here for. You know, on top of that, you can win some USDC and do some other things, but yeah, that's our main focus.
That's awesome. A quick question here from Wind Talker in the chat: will it play on Steam, or is it just like a desktop mode with? Actually, no, because it's browser based. It's browser based.
Yep. So you just go to NFA.gg, and then you're able to click and play Rubber Run right there. So that's live for the public right now. And then Invasion is live for our holders right now. And again, we have 3 other games that will be launching, and you can catch some of the sneak peeks of some of them on my Twitter at Dr.JPEG_.
Love it. So Dr. JPEG, final question. If anybody's tuned in right now and been seeing all this stuff and they're still maybe just a little bit on the fence about getting in, why should they jump into what NFArcade is doing?
Yeah, I would just say stop by our community and, just chat and just check out the vibes. I mean, that's the #1 thing. Hopefully our mission resonated with you today, and I did a good job of explaining it, but we really want to have a positive impact on this industry that is affecting individuals. That's allowing people that are gamers to get some type of value, whether it's perceived value in items or USDC back for their time by playing our games, and also for indie developers that are kind of in the shadows of the millions of dollars of marketing budget of these big publishers, to get the light on them, and then also be able to have a financial impact on them and their families. But just come chop it up. Come play some games with us.
Yo, I love it. Listen, I appreciate you taking the time, and definitely look forward to seeing what else you release, and maybe we can do this again sometime soon. And nudge, wink, wink. Hell yeah.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you, man. So much.
Appreciate you too. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, brother.
All righty, there we go. Yo, not bad, eh? Sheesh. All right, I'm looking at the chat now. Sorry, I saw you guys with all the nice words throughout. I try not to interrupt the conversation flow and all that kind of jazz. But appreciate anybody that's tuned in. Holy shit, there's a ton of you. See, one of my favorite parts of doing these streams is like we get to actually see who has like a community. Like, that might sound kind of weird, right? But like, generally speaking, I think almost everyone that we've had on says to their community, hey guys, we're doing a Twitch stream. And if you look at each section, and I mean, I got the charts and I remember the numbers, like it's wild to see how many people we see kind of pop through that's new from those different communities. And listen, NFArcade, I mean, this whole week, I think that might take the cake.